Of right politics. Yesterday was the first day of spring, which also means, of course, new beginnings. Wanted to talk to you today. You guessed it, more about Cuba. I think it's Santa Cerez. Anyways, there's this one time I posted on YouTube Shorts that there was another protest, another fire. Essentially, people lighting garbage on fire in a form of protest because there's been no sanitation on the island for a long time. But primarily, what we talked about yesterday is still relevant and important about the tariffs coming in from Russia that are supposed to be reuniting Cuba with their oil. But even reports are coming out that it's only 10 days worth of oil and it's going to take 30 days to refine. I think those reports are incorrect because Cuba cannot refine their own oil. It's probably going to come already refined because that was always Russia's job when oil flew from Venezuela to Russia and back. But also, the protests in Iran that happened last week, it's being announced by CBN News that there's a 16-year-old who was put in jail, and his dad's a pastor, just for, yelling the word freedom. He was at the protest. He was there peacefully, but they jailed his son, and like I said, 16 years old. What they are looking at is that he has basically like an asthma condition and he needs medical treatment. So they're worried about him being in jail. But just to remind you how great it is to live in America, and just simply yelling the word freedom can get you put in jail in Cuba currently. I'm really glad that so much exposure and news is happening about Cuba on the main networks. For a while, they were a little bit quiet. A lot of focus was Iran. But yeah, it's always good to pray for those who are in prison, especially if they are young and they're youths and they're Christians. So CBN News was saying that a lot of this was a tactic from the Cuban government to silence the pastor in Iran, because they've been trying to do it for years, and arresting his son is a way that they're trying to pressure him to close his ministry. So CBN News is a Christian news network, if you're not familiar. It has a lot to do with Christian worldviews. So the fact that they are the ones who are giving the story and not mainstream media yet is very important. Now, like we said yesterday, the Daily Show mentioned Donald Trump and how Donald Trump would have the honor of taking Cuba. And, a lot of people think it's a publicity stunt, just like, saying he was going to take over Greenland. But he got what he wanted out of Greenland. And he's getting what he wants out of Iran. Now, freeing the communist nation would be on the top of most people's lists. And I'm very excited to see that day as well. But you have to remember, back in the day, Cuba had presidents, and they were U.S.-backed. Some of them were former U.S. presidents. And I've been looking at this footage from Cuba from back before the revolution, and it was a brawling city with so much to offer. Everyone was dressed nice. There was food, there was money, there was transportation. And now it's been frozen in time for 67 years. So honestly, a regime change is the only way to get that back. Now, a lot of the estimates have shown that Cuba is going to run out of oil between the 15th and the end of the month, the end of March. So we are nearing the end of March, maybe with 9 days left in the month. And by the time this video comes out, who knows what the circumstance will be. But if they take over those tankers coming from Russia, it's going to be a lot more difficult on the people of Cuba, and the people of Cuba will continue to rebel. Now, we are going to see a lot of news coming out in the next few days, and someday, guys, you might get a news flash saying that Cuba has been taken over. I also watched, there was these hearings yesterday talking about the relation of the military and if the military has objectives in Cuba. And it was an open Senate hearing. I'm going to try to post a video on Shorts where they were asking the military generals about the involvement in Cuba. And he said that they would be involved if the president gave a command, but they're not currently looking at anything except the U.S. Embassy in Guantanamo Bay. And a lot of what people could be speculating Trump to do is nation building. And nation building is something that a lot of Democrats do not like. I personally agree that it should be done. especially when you topple a regime. So if the Castros do not oust themselves and Diaz does not step down as leader, something might be done militarily. In the event that that happens, like I said in a previous video, Cuba claims to have 1 million reserve soldiers, but it's not true. After I've been to Cuba, there's no reserve soldiers. Even the police do not have guns. So you can't tell me that they're taking people in to train them. Now, what has been going on is Russia has been recruiting soldiers for years to fight in the Ukraine-Russia war from Cuba because they're allies. And of course, the Revolutionary Guard, there were members who were killed on the Maduro attack, which, after knowing Cubans, it's sad when any Cuban, of course, passes away. But trading military service in exchange for oil is one of the exports. They export people. That's what they've been doing for a long time. So, like, if there is shots fired in Cuba and boots on the ground, the entire island will be captured in 15 minutes. There's not a lot going on as far as defense. But holding the country the way they have successfully for 67 years, the regime is about to come to an end. And the news is coming out so fast, it's hard to even cover it. But I'm glad we're covering it here, guys. And like I said, be sure to like and subscribe. Tried my best to do a daily video. I like the live stream format because it allows me to talk to you guys live if anyone logs in. Not the best video savvy, as you can probably tell, but there's spaces that I could rent for $75 a day, which would add up pretty fast, especially if you're doing daily videos. So I hope you bear with me as the tech eventually gets higher. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Russia is also, trying to be involved as little as possible in Iran. But the Iranian people are looking at the same thing. There was a ground invasion by the Kurds to Russia 2 days ago. That's something I did not cover on here. But the United States military supplying air support and the Kurds doing a ground operation at the same time while Israel's also bombarding with missiles and also defending themselves is really something. Also, Trump getting the name change from Secretary of Defense to Secretary of War to Pete Hegseth really shows that he's wanting to be offensive in his second term and take out these bad guys, and not just simply wait for something to happen. Now, lastly, we talked a few days ago about the perceived ability of there being an attack on the mainland. Everyone's opinion of the war would change if California was hit by drones from Iran or Russia or both. Perspective always changes in times of war, but does it mean that the American people are becoming more aggressive? I think in everyday life, from what I've seen, people are just at the edge of whatever sanity they have left because of politics and because of, energy crises. But they were already at that point when things were well. I think it's just a mass hysteria that happens when someone like Donald Trump is in office. People are ruder, meaner. I mean, the way people drive, the way people treat each other, other human beings in their own country treat them like garbage. So those same people have compassion on those who are in another country. We are talking a lot about how the left is saying a lot of these videos and protests are coming out of Cuba are old and AI, but now that they're on their trusted media outlets like ABC, NBC, CNN, they cannot dispute that they are real. And now they're against nation building and colonialism, but they also are claiming to be liberals, which means they liberate themselves from values and traditions of America. And they're pro-communist, so they don't want the regime to fall. Republicans do, Cubans do. Most Cubans are Republican. Also, I'm talking to a lot of liberals who are coming to Tennessee and Nashville, particularly, who are talking about how the economy is bad, and they say the economy is bad. The economy right now, prior to Iran, has been so successful. Stocks are up, gas was cheap, everything was going well, and they couldn't believe their eyes of how much Nashville has succeeded through the bad economy. But the economy is doing great. Inflation is down, job numbers are up. Someone like me, I personally can work 16 hours a day if I want to. So at the end of the day, What's going to matter is freedom. Are we going to let teenage boys be arrested in Cuba for shouting freedom at a protest? Some of these people get 21 year sentences. The last group of 51 people released had sentences that were about, I don't know, 5 years served out of 21 years. A lot of people in Cuba who I have spoke to say that if you protest, you go to prison for life. There is no exit date. The only exit date these prisoners will have, which is over like 1,200, is the liberation of Cuba. And if you Google Cuba Libre, there's going to be a lot of articles and even songs and protest videos of Cubans wanting Cuba to be free. As far as getting 3 hours of electricity every single day, it's very hard to connect with loved ones back here in the United States. So with that said, the information that they receive is very minimal because it's happening so fast. So a lot of times there are Cubans who haven't even heard of the protests until days later. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll see you on the next episode of Right Politics, and have a good rest of your second day of spring.